Manufacturing today contributes 17% to the Indian GDP. This will not happen without
gap between what production gives in the market to sell and what customer expects. Change management is never funded by anyone. One thing I realized was that what is missing is, one, change cannot happen sitting in a room and dictating the terms. It is impossible to bring change by just bringing out some policy. These are the scenarios which I think the supply chain technologies are able to solve now.
Hello everyone. Manufacturing today contributes 17% to the Indian GDP. And the goals ahead of us, especially with the Make in India program, are to take this percentage up to 25%. That's a 50 lakh crore problem to solve. And this will not happen without incorporating technologies in the manufacturing industries, the companies based out of India. And this use of technology has to happen across the entire value chain, from the design and R&D part of it, all the way till the supply chain management, to the actual production, quality control, and then finally to take it to the customer as well. This is a very important challenge in front of our economy. And I have the distinct pleasure today of having Mr. Dilraj Singh Gandhi, who is one of the pioneers and one of the thought leaders in this space in the manufacturing industries, who's really helping drive this change that is going to be required. My name is Swapnil Bhatnagar. I'm a partner with Avasant, a global management consulting and industry analyst firm. My work is really talking about digital transformation, helping large global enterprises with their digital transformation, technology adoption, as well as business transformation initiatives. And as I said, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here today. It would be great if you can give a short introduction about yourself.
Thank you, Swapnil. First of all, thank you very much for giving me a chance to sit along with you and to talk on such an important subject, manufacturing with 25% GDP contribution. And I think all the levers need to come together to make this happen. It won't happen only by putting one or two levers together. It has to bring a lot of combination. So yes, my name is Dilraj Singh Gandhi, and currently I'm working with one of the largest tractor manufacturing company in India called TAFE, Tractor and Farm Equipments. I'm taking care of or leading AI initiatives and digital programs in sales and marketing for tractor and other divisions within TAFE group. Prior to this, I was Chief Digital Officer for TAFE group. If you ask about my introduction, I'll just take 30 seconds to give you a brief, if you allow me. Yeah. I'm an ex-Tata Motors guy. I started my journey with Tata Motors as a GT. Initially, I was hired for production, but then I was moved to sales and marketing. After completing 5 years in sales and marketing, I realized that there's a huge amount of gap between what production gives in the market to sell and what customer expects. Traditionally we all manufacturing companies have production meeting where in the morning we talk about what's the quality issue, what needs to be sorted out, what is a production plan, etc. So from the sales side, I used to represent from my region, and many times we used to have heated arguments around the quality and what the customer is expecting in terms of paint, in terms of the life of the product, etc. But the production department used to say, hey, it's not easy to manufacture. Keeping that in view probably, and I was very much inspired by Caterpillar, the way they had transformed their company. So I took a call that why don't I move to the other end of the value chain. So nothing better than supply chain. So I moved from sales to supply chain, and the objective was very clear when I had a discussion with MD that point of time, that I want to bring customer perspective to the back end. And the example I still remember echoes in my mind. I gave an example of color. What is color for a design guy or for a production guy? It's a simple chemical which avoids corrosion and rust. No doubt, it's nothing wrong in this definition, but for a customer,
It's very different.
color is very different.
Yeah.
Color means a life for him. Color is a vibrance for him. He wants to see his life photograph on that color car or truck or whatever it is. It should be that shining. So look at the perception difference. I thought it's a great opportunity to fill that gap. So I moved to supply chain, and there I got an opportunity to work in various roles in supply chain, global sourcing, etc. And then I got attached to consulting. That has its own story, but then cutting it short, I moved to consulting in PwC as a technology guy. I learned a lot. Then moved to KPMG for digital when the digital was getting coined in 2015 odd. And then had an opportunity to work with Hitachi Consulting for some time on the shop floor for IoT and other stuff. And finally back to industry. So it has been a great journey. I mean, that's what a small, you can say, my background or introduction around this.
Sure. No, thank you for that. I think, and that kind of reinforces my belief that you're exactly the right person to talk about all of the changes that are upcoming. You've got experience right from the beginning, from the design, the initial supply chain, the floor experience, all the way till actually interacting directly with the customers and making sure their inputs go back into the manufacturing process. Now, one of the things, you spoke about the previous role about Chief Digital Officer. If we look at manufacturing in India, traditionally, these kind of roles of Chief Digital Officer or AI head, those kind of roles did not really exist earlier. Now, when you took up the mantle of being a CDO for one of the most important firms, I believe, in India when it comes to agricultural equipment, how did you define that role for yourself? I'm sure there was no set playbook that you have to do XYZ things. I'm sure you probably did a lot of figuring out on what this role means, what you need to do, how to take the company forward and the industry forward. Maybe if you can throw some light on how you defined it, how you move forward on it.
Absolutely, Swapnil. See, as a consultant, I had an opportunity to work with more than 40, 50 odd companies with their IT heads, CIOs, or even some of the business heads, board members also. And one thing I realized was that what is missing is, I'll say, the business perspective in IT discussions. Probably traditionally, if you look at, IT was more from infrastructure provider, as a information technology service provider, and their role was limited only to provide those services.
Right.
The business perspective was always missing whenever I entered into any company, and I'm talking about 2018-19, and I always used to think that why don't they have something in between who can negotiate better between business and IT, and also bring customer in the lead or key business metrics in the lead rather than only IT related discussions. But that was never to be thought from an angle of a CDO, honestly. I never thought that. But I'm a firm believer of destiny, or you say universal harmony or cosmic energy. So somehow out of nowhere, this opportunity came from TAFE. Actually, they were looking for a CDO with a very clear-cut role, and I think that reflects the maturity of the company also. TAFE was very clear, or my company was very clear that there is a difference between IT and digital.
Right.
So I got this opportunity with a very clear mandate from the perspective that how the transformational exercises will be taken up. Plus, I was also given an opportunity to lead one of the CSR program where the tractors are provided on rent on a digital platform.
Oh.
Right. So that's a pure digital initiative. So they needed someone to head that. so the Chief Digital Officer included that role. But coming to this, yes, the business metrics are something which are very important. I always believed strongly that business metrics make the difference in the role between IT and digital, and the digital role has to embed with the business. So technically, I am the customer of IT.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, I also act like an evangelist with the business guys. Hey, what is happening in other companies in terms of technology intervention, how technology is taking a center stage, and how the processes are getting evolved, and the technology is not getting force fit. In fact, the processes are built around the technology to give you the output, and which can directly benefit the customer, not eventually, but directly benefit to the customer. That's where the whole piece of, I think, the CDO got evolved. And yes, when I joined, I think I had figured out, and I did some research to learn some experiences from other CDOs. There were hardly any CDOs. Most of the digital officers were actually rolling down to IT function.
Correct. Yeah.
And IT function rolling down to a finance function. But I think the outlook is now changing. Now, most of the manufacturing companies have that CDO role as a separate than IT role. That evolution has slowly happened in the last 5 years.
Correct, correct. So, as part of my work, I work with a lot of global firms, and I think that's a trend that I'm also observing for the past at least 3-4 years, if not more, of some of those silos that used to be there. Chief Marketing Officer is measured on XYZ, Chief Digital Officer measured on something else, CFO on something else. I think that's kind of congregating.
Yes.
And the bigger picture, how is it impacting the overall business? I think those are the metrics that are kind of emerging globally, and I'm glad to see that that's happening also in India as well. Now, along with that actually comes a lot more accountability as well, right? Earlier it was easy to hide behind my set of metrics, my SLAs, those kind of things. Now, I mean, for a publicly traded company, for example, your margins are out there for everyone to talk about. Your revenue growth is out there for everyone to see. Now, how do you make that connection? And again, one of the big things that we see across the world, right? You bring in any technology, you bring in everything. The biggest challenge that has to be solved is change management.
Very true.
Getting people to actually align to the new direction. So how did you traverse that path? How did you take your organization? How did you align with the business metrics and make sure not just your team, but the broader teams also start aligning to those metrics?
I think it's a very valid point. And you will see in any business case, invariably, change management is never funded by anyone.
No one. Yeah.
No one funds
Absolutely.
it. Right.
Yeah. No one even thinks about it.
Nobody thinks about it. In fact, change management is considered a part of automatic execution, which is one of the most hardest thing. And if you look at various reports, whether it's globally or within India, most of the programs, whether they're related to technology or otherwise also, they fail miserably because of this lack of change management. Now, I think there are 3 or 4 reasons for the failure of change management, and there I actually took what I'll say, I was able to bring some difference, or I'm able to bring some difference in that because of my earlier experiences. One, change cannot happen sitting in a room and dictating the terms. It is impossible. It is impossible to bring change by just bringing out some policies. Right. It is impossible to bring change only by throwing some incentives. You can bring some incremental inclination towards your program, but you cannot bring a large scale transformation by either sitting in the room or throwing away the incentives or by throwing away the policies or some new procedures. No, it will not happen. Change will only happen when you are actually aware of ground realities, you are on the ground, and you have a team who is an absolute believer, and then you start building that team with absolute belief on the program, and that absolute belief happens when you start showing the benefits,
right,
in a very simple term to the end user. It may start with very small benefit and it gets extrapolated. See, in any organization, if there are 100 people, I am sure you will find at least 5 or 7 who will have an absolute belief on what you are trying to do. Get that 5 together first.
yeah,
Show some benefit, raise it to the next level, to the next. It's a slow process, but it needs a lot of time, lot of effort on the ground. So to bring change, I think whosoever is talking about change management, he has to have 3 traits which I have understood very clearly. One, he has to be a field bias.
okay,
He cannot be action, or she cannot be non-field bias. He or she has to be field bias. He or she has to be action oriented, and he or she has to be completely customer centric.
yeah,
Then only you will be able to bring that change, because at the end of the day, the reason for the existence of any company is customer,
correct,
and everyone knows that.
yeah,
Everyone knows it. Even manufacturing guy knows it, quality guy knows it, and sales guys knows it. And everyone has a sense of relatability with the customer also. Nobody has, unsympathetic view. They all love customers. So if you are able to bring some changes which can affect directly to the customer, and the person who is trying to change understands that, he or she will change. And this applies not only for your team, this applies for your channel partners also.
correct,
Because if they don't change, you are not able to transfer the benefit back to the customer for whom you are working day in and night, right? So you need to bring those changes. But having said this, you need to also ensure their benefits, and that's only possible when you involve them,
right,
and that's only possible when you are able to show them some benefit, tangible or qualitative. And that's only possible when you go and see the ground realities and then have empathy,
right,
and then solve that problem to bring them involved. So it needs a field ground reality to be checked,
yeah,
right? While we have some good presentations which talk a lot, that it can give this benefit, it can give that benefit, but when you go down on the ground, you see, hey boss, the things are very different, the requirements are very different, the interests are very different. So while it's very important to be innovative on the top level, but it's also very important to bring, if you want to bring change, you need to be grounded, you need to have feet on the ground, you need to involve people, and then show the benefit. I think that will happen.
correct, correct. So that's actually very interesting. I think earlier when we were talking about it a little, right, I agree with you. I think all teams at an abstract level fully understand that customer is the center and all of that. I mean, but to drive that point home, I think you had a very interesting concept about keeping the customer in the lead, in the loop, that kind of thing. So for example, if we take Amazon and the concept of having an empty chair in the room for
I
each
love
meeting.
that concept.
Yeah.
I
You
love
know,
that concept.
Yeah. So again, coming to the same in this, do you want to maybe talk? That was a very interesting concept of keeping the customer in the loop, keeping the customer at the lead. Do you want to talk about how you've driven some of those changes in your workplace? How you've brought that?
See, it's easy to say, it's very difficult to do. It's especially in the manufacturing company. The reason is it needs a lot of investment. When you say customer in the lead, what does it mean? It doesn't mean that whenever you're making some process or you're doing something, it should eventually benefit the customer. That's okay. That's happening anyway. You're manufacturing anything for your end customer, whether it's B2B or B2C. It doesn't matter. Customer in the lead or the customer in the loop has a very deep meaning. What it means is that if customer has some voice, it has to break all the barriers to reach to the right places. Today what is happening is, traditionally in any manufacturing place, the customer feedback comes in sequence, right? If a customer has to give a feedback, he will give it to a call center, or he'll give it to a first point of contact, say dealer or a retailer, or to a service guy or to a sales guy. These are the front ends.
Correct.
Right? These are the delivery channels. Now what will they do? Depending on the feedback, they will pass down the information to their different departments, right? Higher ups, that department will further filter that information and pass it down to the next department, maybe design department, maybe R&D department, maybe quality department, and then finally it will come down to manufacturing if it is required so. So look at it, it's a completely straight linear,
Yeah.
right? When I say customer in the lead or customer in the loop, it means that you are breaking that linearity and you are making customers sit in the center, and he has an ability to provide the feedback directly to the function,
Correct.
directly to R&D, directly to manufacturing, directly to procurement, directly to service, directly to quality. So there is a mesh of information flow.
Yeah.
That's where, but that's not possible humanly physical. It needs a lot of investment in technology. It needs a lot of investment in rebuilding the processes, because if you don't have the right process, it will create chaos. Imagine if somebody is talking directly to manufacturing on the fault, but actually it's not a manufacturing problem, it's somewhere else.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It will create a chaos. So it has to be well thought of.
Yeah.
But it is possible to do if you have a right technologies, if you have the right processes, where you create this mesh of information, right, and the information flows to all the relevant stakeholders together, and then on the common platform they are able to figure out what is the solution for that problem and who takes action, and that information goes back to the customer that, hey, your problem or your feedback or your whatever action you wanted us to take has been taken care, and this is the output expected.
Right. Yeah.
That's where the customer in the lead comes. Now the companies like Amazon, you rightly said, yes, they have mechanisms. Look at their return policy, no questions asked. Don't they lose money? They lose, but at the end of the day they also gain what they desire.
Customer
Loyalty, your customer referrals, the increase in the basket size. Every time you go to that place, you increase your basket size, right? Because you also have gained trust. So it takes time. It takes a lot of investment, not only investment on the process and technology side, but also it takes a lot of investment on the change management side, because the thinking has to change in that orientation. Currently if you look at the KPIs, there are dichotomies in the manufacturing sector also. On one hand you have a KPI of customer satisfaction, on the other hand you have the person having the KPI with minimum warranty cost.
Yeah.
So what do you mean by minimum warranty cost? Warranty cost can only be reduced when you say, boss, I will only pass the warranty which is actual.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Even if it is 1 day late, I will not pass that warranty because it's late. But on the other hand, the customer in the lead means that, hey, I was late because of some reason, doesn't mean that you will reject my warranty. Please consider it.
Yeah.
So there are dichotomies within the system also which needs to be worked out.
I think we're at that golden intersection also of the right technologies being available for some of these things to be implemented.
Yes, fortunately, yes.
So I think there are two parts to it, the way I see it. One is, of course, the gathering of the information and making sure that digital platforms, there are different ways in which customer feedback can be incorporated. The second thing is that instead of looking at just as a complaint mechanism or a input mechanism, these are also ways in which newer revenue streams can be created.
Yes, absolutely.
So if I take and this is a global phenomena as well as in India, right? Personalized products, personalization of customer experience. I think those things are becoming front and center. Newer products, not in the nature of product, but in the commercial models around it. So for example, your buy now, pay later kind of things. Those kind of mechanisms or subscription-based models which were never used for large products in the past, right? So I think we're at that inflection point where technology has reached that point where the customer at the center and very personalized products can actually be real. But the drive has to come, as you said, from the top also and from the operational bottom of the organization as well.
Very right, Swapnil. And fortunately, we are in the era where technology is available and it's a proven technologies.
Yeah.
Right. And if I look all these front ends where you talk about subscription model, payment model, or personalized products, everything, if I tie it back to the manufacturing, everything relies on your supply chain.
Yes. Yes.
How agile is your supply chain?
Correct.
If the supply chain is agile, then you can personalize it. If if the supply chain is not agile, then it's very difficult to personalize because you have the inventory sitting on it.
Correct.
You cannot just personalize with inventory of your products which was planned for the next 5 months is already there.
Yeah.
Right. If somebody is asking for specific types of, say in the car, a specific type of roof or the color, but you have a different which is already planned by the sales team. So your personalization is not only dependent on the your intent, but also dependent on your highly dependent on your supply chain, which now fortunately in the last 3-4 years I have seen the technologies are available which can help you to make your supply chain better planned. It can equip your people for better buying decision, not only in your as an OEM but in tier 1, tier 2. You can have the complete visibility where the parts are or the raw material is, and since the information flows through technology in a seamless fashion, so your tier 2, tier 1 suppliers are also accordingly agile, right? But having said this, at the end of the day, it needs little bit of investment.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
So actually, it's a very interesting thing. One of the clients that we work with, so you remember the microprocessor shortage that had happened,
Yes.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
At that time, because obviously the whole manufacturing process was kind of put on hold or slowed down for this particular client, they discovered that they had a 500,000 worth of microprocessors
Already lying there.
lying in one of their whatever warehouses or whatever you want to call them. So the technology exists, but making sure that it is implemented, all of that is still a challenge. Now I agree completely with supply chain being sort of the backbone for all of this. We can keep talking about innovations, we can talk about customer centricity, but if your supply chain cannot support it, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yes.
Now, if that was not challenging enough, if we look at the last couple of years, and actually the last couple of months have been even more stringent, the stress on the supply chain has become manifold right now, right? Whether it's the core petroleum products, whether it's microprocessors, whether it's any of the other raw materials. See, we live in a very globally connected world now, right? All countries do want to have a manufacturing system now, especially with all the geopolitical issues happening right now. They do want to have self-sustaining systems for manufacturing, but we're not there right now. I think there's a lot of supply chain reconfiguration happening right now to manage risks right now. Now, what have you seen Indian manufacturers doing? How are they managing this supply chain risk? How are they responding to it? And what would be your advice to them also?
See, while I fully agree that we are living in a very VUCA stage, right? Yeah. And especially from the supply chain side, the intensity of VUCA is far more higher. I still say that we cannot isolate the manufacturing that it is only one country based. We'll still be connected.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes. Now the question is, how do you really make your supply chain unaffected by or least affected? Resilient, you can say, right? Least affected, resilient. 2 or 3 things. One, I think people have learned, or the supply chain heads have learned, that they need to have 2 or 3 different sources. One source will not be sufficient. Yes, the share of business may reduce, but at the end of the day, it may cost also. Like lower share of business means little bit higher cost, but then that's a safety net, no doubt about it. And if you are If you are global, then you need to be very clear which all countries you are trying to tie up with, so that in one pocket if there is a problem, the other pocket is open at least for you to make that supply chain happen. Second is creating in-house, when I say in-house, within the country the capability. I think a lot of investment is going in that direction. How do you create capabilities within the country? And the government is also playing a huge role, right? How do you do that supply of parts which were being earlier imported to be done within the country, whether it's related to semiconductors or is related to high-end chips, all the investments are happening. Of course, it will take some time to reach to that level. The third piece which is important is to start looking at what-if scenarios. Now, that's where I say that when you talked about the technology piece earlier, there are many what-if scenarios which is not possible now humanly to figure out, but yes, with the help of AI, which is able to with its observatory layer, it's able to bring out what is happening, what is possible, and with your data over it, it is able to bring out what-if scenarios, right?
Correct.
What-if scenarios in multiple ways. For example, you have you need 3 engines for 3 different models, but that engine is same for 3 different models. Now you have only 1 engine, right? Now what-if scenario is very clear that if I have to use this engine, which model should I use it to supply to the customer? One model which is strategically very important, the other model which is giving me the maximum profit, or the third model where I have the customer liabilities are very high. Which place I should fit this? These are the scenarios which I think the supply chain technologies are able to solve now, right? One part is planning in such a way that your AI is able to support you. Hey, in the next few days there is a chances that you will not be able to get the container, because the AI with an observatory layer has a visibility of the container availability across the world, which buyer may not have it,
right?
Or his trader may not give that information, but AI will be able to provide to a great extent. So you know very well, down the line 3 months you will not get container because there is something happening or expected to happen, right? So you are able to plan properly. You are able to keep the buffer at the cost of some inventory cost, but yes, you are using it as a safety net. The second is, after planning, is running the what-if scenarios. Suppose if I don't get material, then what are the other models I can prepare, right? And then linking it back to the demand. Today, many companies work in isolation, or they have a complete, what I'll say, a breakup of technology intervention between the demand and the what production is making. Everything is coming in Excel, but demand is coming in Excel, and then it is uploaded in the system to make a production requirement, and then accordingly the parts requirement. Now if we have a complete technology intervention where we can figure out in what-if scenario I'll be able to provide only this model, then how will the market behave?
Right.
Ultimately whatever you are manufacturing, even because of some constraints, the market has to consume that, no?
Yeah.
And when will you tell the market? You can't tell it at the last minute that, hey, I could not produce, I have now this model, can you please sell? That won't happen.
Yeah.
So it has to happen at the what-if scenario stage itself, so that they can also go back to the market and start building the storyline to sell that product, which is possible down the line 3 months.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's where the whole technology can play a role in bringing that supply chain resilience, and also to counter the effect of VUCA. Planning is very important. What-if scenario, if I summarize, planning is very important. What-if scenario is very important. Sensing back to the market team that this is what I am going to supply from my production down the line is very important. And all this can happen with the help of AI or other technology interventions, so that you are able to deliver what is required.
So I was wondering when AI will come into the conversation. Nowadays you can't have a conversation or a conference without AI being mentioned. But that brings me to another interesting thing, right? If you look at, again, most of our clients, most of the manufacturing companies that we track, in the last couple of years, there have been a flurry of AI initiatives, AI projects, everything is AI, old school ideas about Industry 4.0 are kept on the back burner. All the investment is going to AI.
Absolutely.
But now what we are seeing in the last, recent times is there have been a lot of failures, or if not failures, at least the ROI that was expected has not materialized for a lot of these projects, right? Now, I think it's more of a horses for courses scenario. I think there was a lot of scattershot kind of experimentation that was happening. This also, that also. If you go back 7 years, blockchain was the silver bullet for everything.
Yes.
It'll solve world hunger. It'll solve everything. Right now, I think we went through that phase when AI is supposed to be solving everything. But you, in your new role as well, you're really looking at the front end part of managing the AI projects around sales and marketing for your organization. How are you looking at AI? How are you avoiding getting into this blind experimentation or the POC trap that a lot of organizations have been going through? And again, how have you been doing it? What would be your advice to others as they traverse through this maze of AI, highs and expectations, the actual reality, and somewhere in the middle where it will kind of meet?
I think what I loved about your statement was you used the term POC trap. I strongly believe that POC is a big time trap, right? And it's not really built for very great success. That's a separate discussion. I will not get into it. But coming back to this, AI is now, I think, this term AI is being now misused, either by the enterprises or by the people or even by the vendors, partners, everything. Even if you have to write a small letter, right? They come out and say, use AI. Why? Right. Now, I think there are 2 or 3 things. One, AI is in a evolving stage. It's called as emerging technology. Why is it called emerging? Because it is yet to be proved. It has yet to set the standards. There is no template. Like ERP, there is a template now. You go for any ERP, there is a clear-cut template. You have a clear template of CRM, DMS, proven. Very clear business metrics. AI is very, very in early stage. I'm talking specifically for enterprise AI, not the social AI. Right. And I'll not touch upon social AI in this discussion. But yes, enterprise stage, I don't think any company has reached to that maturity level where they can say they have started retrieving the immediate ROIs. Yes, they are doing. Many companies are doing the AI implementation on bringing, like for example, voice bots. Right. I met one of the company's CIO in AI Summit, cement company, and he was telling me that they are using AI voice bots to call up the dealers to take the orders, and especially the smaller dealers where it's not possible to reach out through your own workforce because they're very small, it costs them high, and the conversion was also good. Out of 1,000 calls, they were able to convert 80. Not bad, 8%. Right, at peanuts cost. So those level of implementations are happening. Right, but a large scale AI, some of the companies which have a global setup are able to bring it in India. Rest are still in the stage of excavation what to do. My suggestion or if I look into my piece is, if you want to implement AI, you need to do 3 things. One, be very clear what is the problem statement you are trying to solve. That trouble story should be very clear. Then it should also be clear that why is it not possible to solve humanly?
Or with other technology.
Or with other technology,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or with other technology. Why is it not possible? It could be because it's very humongous, so it's not possible to humanly reach out, or it could be very complicated, or to solve that problem you need to compute hundreds of variables which are not in your control but they are visible somewhere, the clues are visible, so you need to figure it out, or you have been able to solve but the hit rate had been very, very poor.
Right.
So one is what is your trouble story? That clarity should be very much there. That's the first piece of it. Second piece, if I will say, is on the team. It's very, very important that whosoever is going for an AI should have a team who understands AI beyond WhatsApp forwards.
Right.
Deep.
Yeah.
Deep. Deep in a sense that tomorrow, if some partner is coming to help you out, you should be able to challenge him.
Yeah.
Not from the solution perspective, but also from the architecture perspective, from the LLM perspective, from the modeling perspective, you should know what is happening. I'll give you a live example. I was talking to one of the partners for one of the discussion use cases, and they were talking about LLMs and all that stuff. I said, LLMs are now going out of fashion.
SLMs.
The GPA is coming up. The world models are coming up. By the time I will implement, it will be 3 years because it has its own gestation time, lead time. And if I go with this architecture, what will happen down the line? 5 years, I will be obsolete. Then what? Now, the point here was that we could talk to that partner in my team because we were aware.
Correct.
And the partner team was not aware. They will go back and see what is world model. Now, this is where the point came that the people who are getting into AI should know it in depth, because this is business part is one piece. It's a highly technical thing.
Yeah.
It's like honestly, I believe that AI is as complex as human brain. Like you, as a normal surgeon cannot touch even human brain.
Yeah.
You need a neurosurgeon. Similarly, for AI, you need to have the right set of people to talk about AI to the right partners. Yes, in the business room, you can avoid that technical discussion. You should get into the business discussion to solve business problem. But for a partner discussion, to get the right implementation, right technology, LLMs will be very important.
Correct.
Number 3, very important, which I have learned with time. You cannot implement AI on task level activities. AI has to be implemented or not implemented. I will never say it has to be implemented. It has to be embedded in your processes.
Yes, correct.
And when you say process, it has to be a complete work stream.
Right.
It has to be a complete work stream. You cannot use it as a taste enhancer. That hey, I should add little bit of chili flakes on top of my or some oregano on my pizza.
Right.
No, it has to embed. For that, what is required is you will have to understand the problem, dismantle that problem along the complete process, reorientate the process with the AI embedded in it, and then use it. That's not easy.
Yeah.
And that is the reason people are watching. Had it been so easy, everyone would have done it.
Correct.
Right. And the last thing which is going to, be the aspiration for hundreds of companies in India for the next 4-5 years will be a data. Everyone believes in India, we have data. Everyone believes. You talk to anyone, oh, we are 60 years old company, we are 100 years old company, we are 20 years old company, we have 5-year data, we have 7-year data. Go and see the data.
No, it's not good.
The data is only 2. One input, one output. AI doesn't work on input output. It works on the variables in between them.
Yeah.
One day, I'll tell you one small piece. I was talking in AI Summit only. I was talking to one of the person on this issue, and he asked me that, hey, if I have to have all the variables, then why do I need AI? Yeah, it was a very simple example I wanted to spell out here for the larger audience. One, you start from home, and you reach to your office. One day you reach on time, second day late, third day before time, fourth day late, fifth day reach on time, and similarly you have a data of 1 month, and the data has only 3 parts: on time, before time, late. And from the input side you only have one data, you started. Now tell me, is it not predicting like next time you will reach or late or right? It's like predicting that next time it will be tail or head on the coin. You can say out of 10, 5 times I will reach, but if you want to predict what will happen next day, you need intermediary variables. What did the time you start? How many red lights were there? What was your speed?
Yeah.
What was the route you had? Unless until you have intermediary variables to give that output, how will you be able to predict what is going to happen next? Now in manufacturing companies, all the data is output based. Quality passed, failed, passed, failed, passed, failed. Nobody has intermediary data that what happened on that machine, what was the speed, and all the variables related to that. So this is going to be the challenge. And if you give a wrong data, you will have hallucination, you will have wrong predictability, and then it will be marked as failure. And the moment one failure of AI will take the company back 5 years.
Correct. Yeah.
So these are certain, I think, cautions which we need to consider, which I am cognizant of it.
No, I agree with all of those points, but and actually right at the beginning you mentioned something that was very interesting while you were setting context, right? Enterprise AI is very different from consumer AI,
Yes.
right? The risks associated with enterprise AI are very, very different. So again, you mentioned that you should do the business conversation in the boardroom, but the technical conversation is also as important, if not more important. One other aspect that we didn't really touch about is the whole cybersecurity aspect.
Yes, very important.
Right. Manufacturing is a critical industry
Very
for us,
true.
right? There are state actors who might try to, get into that, into your systems and all of that. And there could be just data issues as well because of cybersecurity. There are personal information issues. There are so many other issues which in the POC stage get brushed under the carpet. But when you get into the actual production side, suddenly they start emerging like hydras.
Yes,
you kill one
absolutely.
head, the other head emerges.
Yes.
So again, how are you dealing with that right now, the cybersecurity part of it? I think you mentioned the data part. Again, data foundations in organizations, I have seen this chest thumping. Yeah, we have data, don't worry about it, right? When you get down into it, the data structures are not great, the data completeness is not there, and there are various issues coming in. So the final execution of it is a lot more challenging than the WhatsApp forwards make us believe.
Not
right?
only this, Swapnil, I'll just take another 2 minutes. See, I have seen companies where you have a wonderful SAP which has all the functionalities, and yes, the data quality will be very good there, and then you, on the other hand, you have beautiful dashboards on the shop floor. And I can bet you go to any company, you will have these two scenarios in best of the best companies, but what will be there in between? You will find one supervisor with one diary or one card writing something.
Yeah.
If not the supervisor, the material which is flowing on automated vehicle will have the card.
Yeah.
Now what is that card? That card is a major integration point between the two.
Correct.
Now, if you have that scenario, and it goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
And if you ask anyone who is there in the factory from the last 10 years, 15, it will be a part of his life also. There's nothing wrong in it as per him. But when you talk about the AI intervention, it's a first flaw.
Correct.
It's a first flaw.
Yeah.
And I'll also tell you that when you talk about data security, we only talk about cyber data security. What about this data, which is moving freely, either on the hand or on the board of the machine, and it is integrating the two parts? So how will you have the right AI when you are dependent on those cards? And invariably, all manufacturing companies are running with that. So that needs to be broken out.
But how are you solving for that? I mean, that's a real issue.
So yes, so the first thing is understanding the ground realities, right? And now, as I said, it's important for everyone to get trained on AI and the prerequisites. This sensitization is very important. That when you talk about using any technology, any AI, it's important to understand what are the prerequisites. One of the prerequisites is that any and every data, whether the data is in the form of tabular, mathematics, or video, or audio, or picture, has to be there in some container or some system.
Got it.
It's like a mind, right? Everything what you do is there in your, in your mind. Whether it's a picture, it's a word, it's anything and everything, it has to be there. That sensitization has to come. Now, yes, that card can go, but then there should be a mechanism to take the picture of that card. If you don't want to, if you don't want to invest, if you don't want to invest in building that integration, right? Maybe it requires a lot of technology interventions to move that, a lot of investment in terms of bringing the iPads on everybody's hands, so you have that paper. But then, is the right information going back to the system? That picture should be there, so that there is no error while updating that back, and nobody is wasting time.
Yeah,
you're getting it. And then slowly look into the areas where the data leakage happens. So when we talk about supply chain, I generally focus on, when you talk about improving the supply chain has three components: supply chain of flow of material, flow of money, and flow of information. In all these three, the flow of information is the most important in supply chain, because that affects the flow of money.
Everything else,
and the flow of money affects the flow of material.
Correct. Right.
So this flow of information is very important from AI perspective. For that, the important thing is sensitization of the complete organization on what is coming as an AI, and how do you really improve the data storage quality.
Right.
I'm not asking to manipulate the data to make it more good on the table. No, whatever the data is, even if it's a data which is saying that your 20 products have failed, no problem, but store it at a right place in the right format,
right,
so that it can be used by the people who are going to implement AI.
Now, actually, great points. I think one thing that I also want to talk about is, in today's day and age, no one can exist as an island, right?
Yes.
All of these initiatives, everything that is required, you will not have all the talent, technology, everything in-house, right? So that's where the partner ecosystem
Very important.
comes to the forefront, right? Now, when you're making these initiatives, you're driving them to success, what do you look for in a partner? How do you use partners, first of all, and then what are those defining characteristics that make a good partner versus someone who's just average?
See, I'm a consultant. I may be in industry now, but inherently those consulting elements don't leave.
They're in your DNA now.
They are in a DNA, right? So I always feel, why do I need an ex-consultant when I'm there? Okay.
Yeah.
So I need to be very clear, why do I need a partner? What am I expecting from him? What are the 3 or 4 things which I clearly need from them? One could be that I need them as my extension of hand and legs. I know the process, I know where to reach, how to do, approach is there very clearly, and it's a proven approach. I need someone who can help me to take that approach to the next level. That could be one piece why I need a partner. The other level of partner could be that, hey, I know the problem statement, I have some of the ideas on solution, but they're not concrete. I need a global view, and I don't need only view, I need someone to really go and implement. So my expectations will be different from those partners. So my expectations will vary on the type of partners or the need of partners. Now coming back to AI, very important to have the right partner from the beginning, because AI will not be something where you will have the partners who have done hundreds of cases.
That won't be there. Right?
That won't be there. He, she or they, whosoever as a consultants come, they will also be experimenting. Right? And with the same intent as mine, we should succeed.
Right.
Now the question is that while during that experimentation, do they have the battery of right resources? Do they have the battery of right information? Do they have something, approach which could be little disruptive and innovative? And more importantly, are they ready to put skin in the game? That not like that, you told me to make something like an MPV, I have built my minimum viable product, you asked me there's 60% accuracy, I have given you 60% accuracy, my job done. Later on it is not even implemented. No, I always look at end to end with the skin in the game, right resources, right mind, attitude. And if I have to look at the past, as I was telling you on the sidelines of conversation earlier also, past is sometimes a reflection of a future outcome also, right? A performance, right? And may not be AI, but then their past performance could really reflect how will they behave in the other projects. So my very favorite question is, they come with a lot of flavor of what they have done with Tatas or Mahindras or for that matter any other company, FMCG, and that's a success story. So my favorite question is, tell me any two companies where you failed miserably. I want to talk to that business head, and then what happened after that, because the story starts only after that.
So were you truly a partner or were you a transactional vendor? Yeah.
There can be many things after that. Huh?
Yeah, correct.
You didn't leave it, you left it, but you were so persistent that you privately did that, or the company blamed you. What happened? My evaluation starts from, for any partner, my evaluation starts from his failure stories, not from success stories.
Right.
Because if he as a partner has a guts to, or has the reason to failure clearly, that problem will not happen with you.
Yeah, correct.
So I don't know whether the audience who are listening this would really appreciate this to understand the gravity of this, but for me, if you ask me, what works is what's their failure story rather than success story.
Yeah. No, that's a great rubric, I think. But one of the points, I want to challenge one of the points that you had earlier in this question, right? And this we've seen globally in various system integration partners, different kind of deals that we advise on, right? At the beginning of the discussion, both sides are very gung-ho about outcome-based pricing. We will commit to outcomes. Both sides, the enterprise as well and the system integrator or whatever partner is there. As the deal goes along, some cracks start appearing. How do you define an outcome? What is success? What is failure?
Right.
All of that.
Right.
Then procurement comes into the picture.
Yes.
Right. And suddenly all the intent about doing an outcome-based pricing model goes out of the window. And we go back to traditional models, traditional business models. Right. That I've been seeing it for many years. We've all been talking about outcome-based. AI is a slightly different beast at this point of time because it's probably easier to align business outcomes with technology a little bit more than what I've seen in the past. But how do you solve for that? I don't think procurement is changing. I don't think it's always the partner's fault that you did not come to a conclusion that we'll do outcome-based pricing on it. Sometimes it's the enterprise side as well.
Very true.
So how do you solve that? How do you bridge that in the future?
One, I will have a slightly different perspective. In fact, in AI, it will be far more complicated than easy. For a simple reason, when the partner will come, he will have very rare visibility on the overall data quality.
Correct. Absolutely.
And the whole failure or success will not be dependent only on the technology but also on the data, the training set, the testing set, the cross validation set of data, and finally when it is productionized, how general it is. Maybe the sample is oversampled or maybe undersampled, you don't know, so it will be far more difficult. Secondly, it will have a larger gestation period because any MVP, if I say, it takes 4 to 5 months. A good MVP with a good problem statement, healthy problem statement will take 4 months to come on the stage of MPV, and then you will go for some pilots in 1 or 2 small areas, to improve the output of that MVP in terms of accuracy or in terms of recall or whatever it is. Again, it will depend on the data sets. So it will not be easy, and I don't think it will be sensible from any vendor side to agree on. I will strongly suggest, even though there will be a lot of pressure from the enterprise, they should be cautious of this fact where they are entering. See, skin in the game doesn't mean only an outcome based. That's a wrong perception.
Okay. So what else would it be?
Skin in the game means that if something is going wrong, the scope will get increased. I am ready to put extra resources to get it done.
But is the enterprise ready to put more investment in it?
No. The reason being, for 2 reasons. One, let's take a step back at the proposal stage. When we ask any partner to come in, we give him a complete opportunity to do the assessments.
Right. Of all your data assets, everything.
Obviously, any company will do. Not only me, any company will do, because that's where the whole piece of proposal starts. And if we look at the proposal finally which is coming out in terms of commercial and all that, there is always that, hey, this scope is a tentative boundary, but depending on the output there could be some increment. Now, does the partner has the appetite to really solve that problem by putting right resources? Maybe your initial thought was that you will be able to solve with X number of team members, but suddenly when you got into the business you figure out you need SMEs for this area also.
Right.
Now that's where the skin in the game comes, that, hey boss, to solve this problem I will arrange that SME, even though I don't have it, I will get it from outside for this job, but I will make it sure.
I will ensure that it gets
I will
done.
ensure. That's where I am talking about skin in the game. Skin in the game is not about that, hey, if I succeed you will get 15% incentive. That's incentivization. That's a reward and recognition.
Got it. Yeah.
I think gone are the days where you talk about only commercial piece means skin in the game.
This is about mutual success.
This is a mutual success, and mutual success, skin in the game could also means that I will make you successful, you make me successful.
Right.
And where the incentive is not by direct reward, but it's also skin in the game from the perspective that I am putting additional resources or taking up an extra cost to make it success.
Right.
That's where the whole thought process comes. And in AI, I will not say that. I don't think any company in this era, for the next 2-3 years, will be in a position to say that if you don't give me 85% accuracy, I will not pay you. He will never be able to jump into this AI journey then. He will have, the enterprise will have to take the risk with a clear visibility that in case if it doesn't go with that accuracy, then what? See, this is where the whole enjoyment of AI is. You start, but you never know whether you will reach to that accuracy or not. Unless until you have hundreds of trials. Right. And that is the reason I say, don't boil the ocean in AI, pick up 1 or 2 key problems, try to solve them. It should not be a 5-year plan, but yes, in the next 2-3 years, and if you are not able to, leave that and move to the next. Do fast, fail fast. Otherwise, you will never be able to jump on this boat and then sail it through the sea, because it's a large ocean and you have a small boat. You don't have a luxury of a huge yacht or a huge ship to sail that. You will have a small boat, always limited investments, skeptical eyes, right? Half of the people don't even know what is AI. Half of the people in the enterprise will always say, hey, AI means solving all the problems, which they themselves don't intend to solve it physically. or humanly.
And half the people will also be scared about AI coming into the
Yes,
processes.
yes.
And that's a very real issue.
Yes, people are always talking about more than benefit that it will take away the jobs. Yes, people will take away the job if you are not behaving like a human being.
Correct. Yeah.
So it will take away the job.
True. So I think great conversation, but maybe just to close out, right? I know that you're part of a select group of individuals who are really moving the industry along on this path. If you had to give a final, 2-minute piece of advice to anyone who is any manufacturing company today who is still figuring out or thinking about what is next and what they should definitely do or not do in the next 12 months, what would that be?
Who am I to advise them? Finally,
You're the practitioner. You're the
they
guy
are the
who's
intellectuals. I'm sure every company have the great intellectuals. But yes, having said this, my view will be two. I'll go back to my initial discussion. For a manufacturing sector, it's no more in silos. Whatever we manufacture ultimately has to be consumed by a consumer. So consumer is the reason for the existence of any manufacturing company, any supply chain, any discussions what we are doing today, it's an end customer. And if he is not there while building the process of quality, while building the processes of supply chain, while investing anything, even a single penny, if customer is not in the lead, no point in doing anything. Now, I have heard companies saying eventually it will benefit. Eventually is a very distraction. Eventually means only for you. Ultimately, it doesn't reach to the customer. So, if, for example, if you have improved the quality, your quality cost has gone down. Have you passed it down to him? How has he benefited?
Yeah.
Has it improved his experience in a way? Right. Or is it for your convenience? The question is that whatever you're doing, are you doing it for your convenience or your customer? I'm a clear-cut customer-oriented person, so I find customer has to be there because I believe I'm also a customer. If I'm not thought of, then your manufacturing has no reason. Yeah. Number two, future is data. Please avoid any data leakages which are happening through your verbal communication, observations, writing on the pad, not going in the system. Like for example, one of the biggest problem in manufacturing is rework. Why that rework has happened, how much time will it take, so many data is around that. So much of data, even the quality, so much of data is there, that's all in the mind. It is never there in the. So if you want to, going ahead, AI will be a integral part of the life for enterprise also. Now if the companies don't embark on that journey, they'll be wiped off. Down the line 10 years, they'll be wiped off in a sense, they'll be incompetent. Right, the global markets will have competition, they will be incompetitive, they will not be able to survive on the cost because cost will be higher because they're not using the technologies like AI and all that, so it will have a ramification. So if you want to really embark on that journey, every observation of variable has to be there. Some mechanism has to be there to feed it in the system. Now, fortunately, we are in a space where technologies are available where at least you can put a voice record.
Right.
At least have this voice record that, hey, why am I rejecting this? What are the 3 things for which I am rejecting this? What are the 3 things I am taking as an exception? Why am I taking it as an exception? If that is recorded, even that will be useful at later stage. That's only, what I'll say, suggestion to the people who want to really embark on this journey at later stage.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank
this was such an illuminating conversation. I'm sure the audience would have benefited a lot from this. And thank you so much for your candor and for sharing all of those insights.
Thank you. Thank you very much and pleasure catching you.